Greetings, sports fans. We are the Sports Kings from Queens. I'm Gino, joined by my co-hosts, Kevin and Darren. Today's Wednesday, April 9th. This is episode 164. Please catch us wherever you get your podcasts, like, subscribe. Follow us on Facebook, follow us on YouTube, follow us on Instagram. We got some videos we're posting. Take a look, share it with your people, send it out. Feel free to send us some questions, some comments. We'll get back to you. Tonight, we go around the sports world. We got NHL, NBA, MLB. We're going to touch on everything. Masters starting tomorrow. But we're going to kick it off with the NCAA Championship. Florida Gators cut down the Nets. But let's do a little reverse, and we'll take it back to Saturday. We had the semifinal games, two of them. Florida beats Auburn 79-73. Houston beats Duke 70-67. For me, I think both winning teams outlasted their opponents. I think Florida wore down Auburn, and I think Houston wore down Duke. We'll get into the last minute of that game, which was crazy anyway. Darren, let's start. Let's touch on Florida Auburn to start.
Well, okay, just to get into that one, right? Florida over Auburn. Florida trailed by 8 at the half. All right. But the thing that the most interesting stat of the game to me, just to get into it, besides Walter Clayton being the best player on the floor that night, 16 turnovers for Florida, 12 for Auburn. 16 points off turnover for Florida, 6 for Auburn. Florida was able to make the turnovers count. Auburn did not capitalize on the 16 turnovers. They only got 6 points out of it. That's very much the difference in this game. And I also think just the depth of Florida up front. Florida played 4 bigs. Nobody played more than 25 minutes. Broome played 34. He was also injured in the previous game, and he just looked a little tired to me. And I just think that they outlasted him. Auburn couldn't find guys that were shooters. There were a lot of issues for Auburn in this one, Kev.
Yeah, Broome didn't look right. I know he gutted through it. The arm just didn't look like it was there, and I think that affected his play. I thought the key was, like you said, Auburn had the 8-point lead at halftime. It took Florida 3.5 minutes to wipe away that lead. They spent the next 14 minutes back and forth. I don't think the lead grew more than 3 or 4 points for either team over the next 14 minutes. So it was a terrific back and forth game. But then Clayton took over at the end, like a superstar player can. He had the layup with 2:24 left to go up by 3. He had the and one with 1:33 left, put him up by 6. And then Houck had a jumper at 37 seconds left to go up by 8. So, and it was, you look at it and you go, okay, it's a 7-0 run over 3.5 minutes. Auburn was cooked by that point. They had nothing left in the tank. Without Broome inside being able to do much, I think it bogged down the offense, and Florida took advantage of it.
Yeah, I mean, once Broome looked out of it, and Broome, that first 12 minutes was okay, and then right around there at some point, he was getting shut down, and you could tell something was going on with him. And the combination of that and Clayton, who was on fire, 5 threes in the game,
incredible game for
34 points, and parts of that game, he looked unstoppable in the second half. So you put those two together, and Florida winds up with the win over Auburn.
Yeah, I mean, like you guys are saying, they did wear down, and Broome did not look right. But what Florida does so well, and I remember complaining about when the brackets came out, how was Florida not the 1 overall seed? How was Auburn the 1 seed? I couldn't understand it. And what Florida does so well is that they use their depth so well, and they can score so quickly. And we saw that in the championship game too, which we'll get to in a little bit. But they just too much firepower for their opponents. And when they play defense alongside with it, it's a magical combination.
Yeah.
All right, then we move to the second game. Houston outlasts Duke 70-67. Darren, you want to start it?
Yeah, this game was crazy, right? Because Duke led 59-45 after Proctor hits a foul shot with 8:17 to go. Houston outscored Duke the rest of the way 25-8. Okay? Flagg played well, committed the over-the-back foul, which I know is a little bit controversial, but it is a foul. I'm sorry. You can say what you want. If you watch it from the back angle, his elbow is in his back.
Yep.
I was fine with them letting it go because Cryer got the rebound. But if Cryer doesn't get that rebound, then you have a different outrage in that play that he pushed him in the back, would have let him get his arm up, and Duke gets the offensive rebound. So I think that the call had to be made. I know that, the Duke announcers, Rafferty and Hill, were against it, but and Ian as well, all three were rooting very hard for Duke in this game. But I thought that the foul call was, it was close, but I think it had to be called. Duke hit 2 field goals in the last 13 minutes of this game.
Yeah.
A flag 2 and a flag 3.
Yeah.
They everything else was from the line, but the key play of this game actually was the flagrant on Gillis after Cryer hits the tough 3. Cryer hits the 3. They cut the game down to 59-48 at that point.
Yep.
And then all of a sudden they had the flagrant 1. Cryer hits 1 out of 2, so 59-49, and then they get the bucket from Cryer, and it's 59-51, and suddenly the game is single digits. I thought that kind of turned the game around, but to hit only those 2 field goals in the last 13 minutes, Kev, I thought they were cooked at that point. They just couldn't hit a shot.
I thought what surprised me really was, Cryer hit the 3 right before the under 8 from the 14. Duke didn't score until the under 4 timeout. After that, it was 10-0 run by Houston. But then, Proctor hit the 2 free throws. Flag hit a 3. They were back up 64-55 with 3:03. And you said they survived Houston's run.
Yep,
It was a 10-0 run. Duke survived that. They got the lead back to 9 with 3 minutes left. Game over. I thought right there Duke had won it. You don't see a team, start to chip away at the lead, push it back out, and then give up the lead again, or let the other team get back into the game. I really thought with 3 minutes left, the game was over.
Yeah.
And then Sharp came up big down the stretch. Cryer obviously did what Cryer does, and Roberts was a factor too. I mean, they all kind of chipped in there toward the end. Most interesting stat line of this game, and you guys might know it. But,
Houston's up 9. Houston is trailing by 9 with 2:05 left, and even at that point, Kev, past that point, it's like, okay, this is done. I mean, but then 2:05 left, they're down 9. 1:14 left, they're down 6. 33 seconds left, they're still trailing by 3 with 33 seconds left.
And Sharp hits the 3.
ties
Then
it up.
Wilson with the steal.
Yeah.
Tugler with the tip and cut it to 1 there.
Yeah.
And then Proctor missed the field free throw and the foul call, and Roberts made both to give Houston the lead for the first time. And then Flag missed.
Yeah.
It was a good shot. It was good defensively too. But both guys got what they wanted out of that.
Yep.
Yeah.
But here's the stat line, guys.
Yep.
Duke is the only team in NCAA tournament history to have a higher field goal percentage, more free throw attempts, more assists, fewer turnovers, and more steals than their opponent and lose.
Wow.
In the history of the NCAA tournament.
Duke 67 was the second lowest they scored all year.
The problem was that they looked like they were going to score 80, G. They looked like they were on pace to score 80, and then they just stopped.
Done. Yep.
And credit to Houston. Both teams came back. Houston coming back from the 14, but Francis's follow was big. The foul call, I know people were upset about it. Cryer had the ball. They were still down 1 with the ball. I don't know if they hit a shot because Duke's defense was very good also.
Yep.
But Houston finds a way to get through, and we get to the championship.
So we get to the championship Monday night. Florida -1 was where it went off at. Under was 141.5. That's where it went off at. And the comments by the announcers were, Houston wants a rock fight, Florida wants a track meet. And I wrote it down because it was exactly how we were all thinking about it.
Yep.
At the end of the day, Florida wins 65-63. It's their 3rd championship. Their other 2 are 2006, 2007 with Billy Donovan. Let's talk about the game. Darren, start it off.
Houston led by 12, 42-30 with 16 minutes to go, 16:25. And then the Gators slowly came back. Did not take a lead till there was 46 seconds left. Tied it up multiple times, but did not take a lead, and they took that lead at the foul line. Walter Clayton Jr., who was blanked in the first half, tied it up at 7:54 mark with a 3, at 48. Then the battle just went back and forth dramatic and very climactic ending, right?
Yeah.
Kev, I mean, Houston, it's hard to say that Houston didn't choke this one away, but Florida did a lot to earn it.
Florida earned it, like you said. It wasn't a quick run. It took eight plus minutes to go from 42-30 down to 48-48. Uh, I don't think it was a Houston defense falling apart. I think they were still playing good defense. Florida made some plays that they had to. And then from that point on, from 48-48, Houston kept going up by 2 or 3, and Florida kept responding and tying it. They could never take the lead. I was wondering if that was going to be the difference. I thought if Houston ever gave up the lead, I figured they were done. As long as they kept retaking the lead and keeping Florida, okay, we'll let you tie it. We're not going to let you take the lead. I thought Houston was in good shape. Once Florida took the lead, I thought that was game over.
46
I thought psychologically that was a big difference.
46 and a half seconds left. Florida finally takes the lead 64-63.
Yep.
And it's their first lead of the game since 8-6.
Yep.
I mean,
which is just unbelievable.
They led for 1 minute and 3 seconds in total.
The thing about this game is statistically it was a rough watch, okay? Florida 6 for 24 from 3. Houston 6 for 25 from 3. Florida out-rebounded Houston in this game. But Houston almost doubled them up on the offensive glass, which to me means more. Florida had 14 assists. Houston only had 5 assists for the game. And Barkley talked about it at the half, and Kellogg jumped on it right away. Stop with the pick and roll at the top of the key. You got to let Clayton not get the double team. And it changed the entire game because they got a couple of real easy and ones and or layups by little back cuts where Clayton would spring open and get a nice pass from a big man, usually Houck. And that was the difference in this game. All of a sudden, they were getting easy baskets and easy end ones. And Houston, for some strange reason, had their offense completely on the outside. Even the bigs were playing basically foul line. And they had nobody down low trying to make something happen. And Florida's defense, not what they're known for, was outstanding. Gino, I just got to ask you, describe the end of the game for me. What happened?
Well, listen, before we get there, Houston, 5 turnovers in the first 38 and change minutes of this game, 4 turnovers in the next minute and a half.
Yep. Yeah.
So just ridiculous. Listen, Florida's up. Houston gets the ball back. They come down, and you know what? They got to get the shot off. And listen, the way Houston has played, I've seen them, especially like Saturday, where they're going to do this dribble. They're going to make sure they're trying to get a good shot. Florida's playing excellent defense. Their defense on that last possession was fantastic.
Yeah.
Okay. But all in all, you still got to get that shot off. And he goes up, he takes the shot, and he doesn't take the shot. He pulls the ball back down, and then he knows now he can't touch it. Once he touches it, that's it. So he's waiting and waiting. No one can get to him. But the question is, how do you not you're setting up to take that shot. Even if it gets blocked at that point, you have to throw the ball up. There's no time left on the clock.
And Sharp had another error when he drove to the basket and went off his knee less than 40 seconds earlier than that. So he's driving to the bucket. Richard got his hand in there.
Yeah.
And it goes right off Sharp's knee for a turnover. And then Sharp turns it over at the end. And you figure with Clayton jumping out at him like that, if he pump fakes, he's probably going to get 3 shots. He could probably get fouled on that. But he didn't pump fake. He left his feet. Once he left his feet, there was nothing that could be done. But they would have been better off committing the turnover right there. Because a turnover, at least they get a chance to foul. You stop the clock. But instead, no Houston player knew what to do. And it was just a weird ending, Kev.
Yeah. Everybody froze because nobody's used to seeing that type of play at all during the game. A couple times, you wonder. I mean, we always wonder, are there too many timeouts for coaches in the game because they always wait till the last couple minutes to use them. Boy, there are 1 or 2 earlier in the half where players falling out of bounds and he takes a timeout. I bet you Sampson wishes he had one of those left.
Yeah, exactly.
Because I forget who was dribbling it, but when he gets trapped with about 8 seconds
I think
left.
it was Cryer at that point. Was it Cryer or
Cryer.
Uzan? I think it was Cryer.
Before they were able to reverse it back around. If you're starting to get trapped with 8 seconds left, you can take
You
the
call the
timeout. They had
timeout and you
nothing,
draw something up in the huddle.
yeah, but they had nothing. They had none left to take, which I think was a big part there. And I think the way the game was played and officiated in the second half was far different than the first half. I mean, there were 4 fouls in the first half
Yeah.
and 26 in the second half.
Yeah, they started on Florida early, and to be honest, all the calls were fouls. To be honest, they weren't not. I didn't know they were crying about them. And then they had Houston on a couple of them as well. And you know what? They evened out. I mean, but Florida had Houston in the penalty 14, 16 minutes ago, something like that, or something ridiculous. I thought another key to this game was when both Francis and Tugler picked up their 4th fouls and they tried to go small with Arsenal. All of a sudden, Florida started to control the boards at that moment, not before that moment. At that moment, Florida started getting confidence on the glass, and they never lost it. Yep. And to be honest, Roberts did not have a big game, and he was needed. Only guy in double figures for this team in this game was Cryer. Okay, nobody else got hit double digits on Houston. And when you look at the stats on this game, I mean, just from the big three, okay, and I just got to turn the page. I apologize. 3 for 11 was Jawan Roberts. I thought I had it written down. I don't. I'm sorry. Oh, I do have it.
Roberts was 3 for 13.
Sharp and Roberts were combined 8 for 33 and 1 for 11 from 3. I mean, you can't win when your score is 2, 3, and 4 are producing that way, and that's what happened. And they fell short.
Here's one of my points, and I actually said this to you guys during the game, and that is the defense that Houston played in that first half, because they were so cold, and Florida was cold too, don't get me wrong, but because Houston was so ice cold in that first half shooting wise, all the great defense they played in that first half didn't amount to anything. You went to the half and Houston was up 3. And I said it to you guys, you would have thought by the way that Houston was playing that good of defense that they would have been up 10 going to the half. But they never got to that point because they were ice cold. I mean, Cryer had 5 at the half. Clayton had 0. Neither of the scorers was.
Richard was the guy. Richard's the only reason Florida was in the game. Richard scored half their points. He had 14 of the 28 in the first half. He did everything he possibly could. And, Francis played great, by the way. He was the other guy that was playing well, but then he was picking up those fouls. Tugler didn't have a big night. Roberts didn't have a big night. Uzan wasn't a non-factor. Sharp hit a big 3 kind of late, but then he fell down on a defensive play that gave up a bucket, and he had the 2 turnovers in the last minute. It really was just Cryer and Francis, but then Francis picks up that 4th foul. He goes out of the game, and he was that pogo stick that was getting his hands on everything in the first half. And look, to Kev's point, the way they refereed the first half, Houston should have been up 12.
Yep.
Not 3.
Yeah.
That's
I agree. But Florida cuts down the nets.
Well, listen, Richard played a great game. Clayton found his stroke in the second half, and the big guys battled on the boards, Condon in particular. I thought had an excellent game. Hal, who had been really good during the tournament, didn't do much in this one, but he did contribute on the defensive end more and had a couple of assists. And, better from the foul lines was Florida. They were just they executed better in the second half. I don't even know what more you can say about it.
Yep.
Okay.
Well, I'm glad we wound up
with a champion.
I'm glad we wound up with 3 good games in the Final Four because the rest of the tournament, like we said last couple of weeks, have been very lackluster.
That's what I said last week. I was like, this has a chance to have 3 good games, and we got them.
And we did.
And that's cool. But next year, I'm going to hope for a more fun tournament.
Yep.
Okay.
Congratulations, Chomp. Go Gators. Not that I really root for the Gators, but congratulations to Walter Clayton Jr. and the squad.
Kev, tell me about the women's.
Do I have to?
Well,
my poor Gamecocks. Anyway, started Friday night with the Final Four. South Carolina beat Texas 74-57. Texas was up 12-4 early, and the big key there was Madison Booker, the star for Texas, getting her second foul with 3:25 left in the first quarter. She sat a lot, and then she got her 3rd foul in the second quarter. Carolina took the lead by the half by 3, outscored them by 11 in the third quarter, coasting in the 4th. Later that night, UConn, never close. They crushed UCLA 85-51. They let Betts get hers. Betts had 26. on 11 of 18. The rest of the team for UCLA, 25 on 9 for 34.
Too many
So,
turnovers too,
way
Kev.
too many turnovers. Great defense. Strong with 22, Fudd with 19, Beckers with 16.
So watching that game, I was like, UCLA doesn't belong. And then I saw what UConn did to South Carolina, and I said, oh, maybe they did belong.
Maybe they did. And, unlike the way they've been playing the last couple of games, South Carolina and UConn early first quarter was pretty good. With under 14 left, it was 15-14. UConn pulled away, was up by 5 after 1. South Carolina then in the second quarter could not hit a shot. UConn led 36-26 at halftime. Felt like the D was doing okay. They had, UConn contained, but they were just ice cold. And in the third quarter, UConn started to get hot, outscored them 26-16 to go up by 20. And in the fourth quarter, it got as much as 32 before the subs made it look semi-respectable, 82-59. Strong was huge inside, 24 points, 15 rebounds. Fudd had 24. Beckers at 17.
Freshman, by the way, strong. Freshman.
Yeah, freshman. And Gino Auriemma, 12th title, their first since 2016, which is hard to believe.
Yep.
And that was it. UConn cut down the nets on the women's side.
Great. Listen, better tournament than the men's. Horrible semifinal and final.
Yep.
We had no competitive game there.
No.
Just one other quick.
The big three of UConn. I mean, you could tell clearly that UConn had the top 3 players in the games that they played.
They were just clearly the best.
Yep.
One quick portal point, and we have over 1,200 players in the portal now. The saga of Meechie Johnson Jr.
Yes.
Okay.
Meechie.
So here he started at Ohio State.
Yes.
Transferred to South Carolina. Transferred back to Ohio State and has now transferred back to South Carolina. 6 years, 4 stops, 3 transfers, 2 schools. It's now become a joke and a game what this is all about. I just gotta, I like the classes in this semester here and that semester there. Listen, I'm happy you got Meechie back. He's a good player. He's about 24 years old now this year as he goes in. But you know what? The simple fact of the matter is
33.
The portal is just getting out of control. But I just thought that stat line was interesting. I knew that you would know it, Kev. I didn't know if Gino quite knew the Meechie Johnson saga, but just figured I'd share it with you guys because that's a little bit nutty.
Yeah, because he went back to Ohio State, then left the team for whatever personal reasons. Who knows what they are that ever came out. And then to find out that he's transferring back to South Carolina was a surprise. They
6 years, 4 stops, 3 transfers, 2 schools.
Yep.
Can't make it up. And I think that would wrap up college basketball for the year. We'll get into like some, portal things if some good local players, if the Johnnies or good local players kind of end up around somewhere. But until that, we're probably not going to talk college basketball for a few months. So,
yep.
All right.
We move on.
All right. Let's move over to the NHL. Ovechkin surpassed Gretzky with his 895th goal on Sunday versus the Islanders at UBS Arena. Washington down 2-0 in the second period until about 7:26. Ovechkin with a power play goal. And then the ceremonies commenced. The post goal ceremonies commenced. Good crowd, gave a good ovation, but for me, I think the ceremony lasted a bit too long in the middle of the second period. We saw Gretzky, we saw Bettman, we saw speeches from everybody.
Yep.
Ovechkin's family, the Washington owner, the Washington team, all the New York Islanders came out, shook his hand.
Some kids he knew from Russia when he was growing up playing Little Lumpkin.
It was
his third grade teacher.
I did not get the actual time, but someone had said that it lasted about 53 minutes, the ceremony. So
about 52 minutes too long.
It was.
Throw him the puck. Talk to him after the game. I'm sorry. It's listen, another 1,200 points when he catches Gretzky and assists and all the other stuff, then we'll make a big deal. But the fact is that they did it within a game of each other, right? I mean, Ovechkin played one less game, I believe, than Gretzky did to get to the same goal number.
Yeah.
Which is pretty exciting. But again, Gretzky had about 1,200 more assists. So it's hard to – because somebody asked me, is Ovechkin as good as Gretzky? I'm like, no. I mean, nothing against Ovechkin. He's had a great career, though.
And I think Gretzky was so unselfish, he could have had way more goals than that. Did Ovechkin play KHL? I forgot to look that up because, Gretzky, this was purely NHL goals. He also scored some in the old WHA before, that league folded, and those didn't count in the total.
I
Yeah,
don't know if he
well
played
over
in the
900.
KHL. I'm not sure.
Yeah,
I'd have to look
I'm
it
just
up.
trying
sure.
to compare apples to apples here, but strictly from NHL. Kind of funny. Gretzky's 894th and final goal was against the,
New York Islanders.
and the goal
Like,
that broke the record was against the.
New York Islanders. Well, we said it could happen the last game of the season. He decided to do it a week and a half early.
Yeah. Yeah, we scores 2 the night before. And to me, kudos for him. Hey, do you want to go out there in the empty net? No. When I score, I'm going to score against the goalie.
Yeah, he wants to win it. He wants to do it right. He doesn't want to
do
pull
it
the
right,
Michael
so-
Strahan sack record. I get it.
Yep.
He scored 894 goals. The least he could do is score the last one correctly.
Correctly. Yep.
The Islanders put Brett Favre in net for that last goal, and it went
Right.
up. Sorokin played well besides that. Anyway.
Gastineau still has the record in my heart.
Locally, 5 games left for Rangers and Islanders before tonight. They're both 8 points back.
They
of the
suck.
final
We
spot.
don't have to get into it, Gino. The Rangers. I mean, particularly the Rangers. The Rangers were they had the most points in the league last year. And they crapped the bed. You have all the stars, you got all the players, you got the coach, you got the goaltender, you got everything that you want. And this team didn't show up this entire year. And then in big spots, they couldn't win a big game to save their freaking lives. Islanders, they traded one guy instead of 6 guys, tease you up and down, and then they lose a game to the Predators last night. They weren't going to get in anyway, but what kind of crap was that up 6-4 late? You can't go up 7 goals to Nashville. What the hell is that? Yeah. I mean, these two teams suck. They freaking suck. If you guys want to elaborate. They suck.
I think you also give the one team that decided to play hockey and actually put together a winning streak down the stretch was the Canadiens. Mm-hmm. Because, you had 4 other teams there with the Islanders and the Rangers. They were 8 points behind Montreal. None of them wanted to win down the stretch except Montreal. I think it's just a matter of officially getting them in there at some point here. They were all but in. The Devils, technically, we're not in going into tonight's games. I mean, they're just, again, mere formality when they clinch it. The only thing we got left is out west a little bit of a playoff race.
So here it is. The Flames are 4 points out with 5 to play against the Minnesota Wild. They play each other on Friday, by the way. But the saga of a Flames fan is always one of the more fun things there is.
Win in regulation. Don't let them have.
I need 2 points to none in that one. Absolutely. Yeah. So I'm watching the game, and of course they suckered me in against Vegas the other night. So I'm up late. Game starts at 10. Devastating, but anyway, here I am because I'm an old man. And Wolf starts standing on his head in the third period, and they come back and they tie the score up against Vegas and send it to overtime. And in the overtime, after Wolf had made save after save after save. I forget the Vegas player circling. He just throws it out in front, hits Uyghur in his skate, the defenseman, and beats Wolf. And you're like, oh my God, we're going to lose on an own goal from behind the net. So we're going to give up a point there because we got 1, but we had to get 2 in that game. And you're playing against Vegas, and they're better than you. And you're like, you're sucking me in. I got to stay up for another freaking overtime and a 10 o'clock start. This freaking team. You know what? The thing I'll say for Calgary is they play hard, and I got a nice young goalie to watch for a few years. But Madonna me, tough. Flames are going to have to win the Minnesota game. They're basically going to have to win out in order to get in. No other real team is a threat right now.
Yep.
I mean, the Rangers, the Islanders in the East. Nobody really else in the East. Detroit, not really. Ottawa seems to have spurted away. They should be. They're fine. Canadians have spurted away. They should be fine. And it's just going to come down to Calgary versus Minnesota in the West. Maybe St. Louis if they fall apart. But St. Louis had won like 14 in a row before their last loss.
Okay.
And the interesting game last night, see what happened with Vancouver against Dallas?
I did not stay up for all of it, so no. But it was 5-5 when I went to bed.
Well, it got to 5-5. It was 5-2 Dallas.
Yes.
Under a minute left.
Oh, I didn't know it was that late. I saw 5-5.
Vancouver scored 3 goals with the goalie pulled to tie at 5-5. They were the first team in NHL history.
Wow.
With 3 goals in the last minute of the game
I did not realize it was all 3 in the last minute.
Yes.
I just was watching it, rooting for Vancouver to lose, and then they kept scoring. I was like, I'm going to bed.
And then 1 in overtime.
Of course, the way it goes. They're still technically alive, but they're
technically, but they're done.
They have a long way to go. They have a tougher road than Calgary does.
All right, let's move over to the NBA. A couple of things happened in the NBA. Kev?
Denver. I mean, we talked a couple weeks ago when Memphis fired their coach. Denver fires Michael Malone and the GM Calvin Booth with 4 games left in the season.
Unbelievable.
Because they're apparently on a 4 or 5 game losing streak. Most of that, Murray's been out for the last 5 games with a hamstring, so that contributes to the losing streak. I mean, the guy won a championship 2 years ago. You've got the best player in the league in Jokic. How do you fire this coach?
It's like Jokic went to LeBron and said, what do I do? I'm losing. Oh, just get the coach fired.
Yeah, because it worked well for LeBron how many times?
6.
LeBron's done it 6 times. I think we saw the same meme.
Freaking ridiculous.
I mean, unbelievable. How do you fire a coach with 4 games left?
Especially a really good coach. Michael Malone is not just a coach. He's a very good coach.
Yeah.
And he's going to be swallowed up in about 5 minutes in the offseason. Because he turns teams around. He's that kind of a coach.
Yeah.
And I just don't get, to be honest, Knicks losing the second round, and I like Tibbs. I call Michael Malone. I call Michael Malone in a second and a half. Boom, boom, boom. Nothing against Tibbs, but Michael Malone will use the squad, use the full roster, I think, a little bit more.
Yeah.
But I was stunned by that one.
Yeah, because the Knicks need to use the full roster, and we know they'll lose in the second round with their track record this year.
Yeah, I mean, they're going to have to beat Boston. And listen, they played about as well as they can against a good team last night. But once again, they don't beat any of them. They lost in overtime in this one to Boston. I mean, it's hard to believe that the Knicks are going to turn it on and find this switch where they're going to win these games in the playoffs. I hope to God they do. But this is the defending champ now you're playing. You're not playing a good team that hasn't proven anything. You're playing a Boston team that went through the West last year with the far stronger conference. I'm not talking about the East and having a little bit of an easy run with Indiana getting through. I'm talking about getting through the West champion too. And even though it was Dallas who was not expected, Dallas was playing great at the time, and Boston dismantled them easily. And Tatum is still the best player on the floor, no matter how much we love Brunson or Towns. The best player on the floor wears green.
Unbelievable.
So in the East, all 6 playoff teams are settled. Just got a matter of a couple of seeds maybe still left. The Knicks are leading Milwaukee by 2 to try to stave them off.
Well, Indiana by 2.
Indiana by 2. Okay.
And Milwaukee's leading Detroit by 1.5 or 2, something like that.
Yeah. And then we also know the 4 play-in teams, and they're set. So, East playoffs are locked up. It's just a matter of who's playing who. Out West, OKC's won. They've been won by 15 games for how long here? Houston's locked up the 2 with their division win. And then 3 through 8, the Lakers, the Clippers, Denver, Golden State, Memphis, and Minnesota separated by 2 games.
Anything can still happen. 2 of those teams are going to be in the play-in tournament.
Yeah, that's why it's so big to finish.
And these teams are like 46-32, 47-32. And these teams are teams that are going to be hovering on 50 wins, playing in the play-in tournament.
Yeah,
it's a little bit crazy. It really is.
We know your Kings are definitely in the play-in tournament. They've clinched there, and Dallas going into tonight was 3 up by Phoenix with 3 to play for the last playoff spot.
So Sacramento looks like they're trying to give it away. They lose at Washington. Then they come back on back-to-backs and win in Cleveland and Detroit. I mean, the NBA is hard to predict. I mean, you don't expect them to win in Cleveland. And then, next night, let's go into Detroit and win. Detroit's fighting for their lives, too. And it's like the second duo to do it on 2 different teams was Levine and DeRozan. Scored 80 combined on 2 separate teams. They did it for the Bulls. They did it for the Kings. I forget the other 2 players that did it, but just an interesting stat. I can't remember the other 2 guys though.
All right.
At the NBA, we'll talk more playoffs as we get into the playoffs. That's really what the Knicks it's going to be about, guys. I mean, Nobody cares what they do in the regular season. They have to get past the second round. Otherwise, unsuccessful season. Sorry.
Yep.
Yep.
No doubt about it.
Agreed. All right, let's move over to baseball. We had one big signing. Vladimir Guerrero Jr. with the Toronto Blue Jays, 14 years, $500 million. He's 26 years old. So this will take him through age 40.
I guess that Yankee Met bidding war for Vlad is not going to happen in the offseason.
It will not. Nothing deferred.
No.
It's a true 14-year, $500 million. He's
He's also getting killed with the Canadian dollar. He has to get as much money as he can.
Yeah. Great. I mean, it's about time for the Toronto fans to not only resign their own player, but just to sign anybody. I mean, how many guys have they been in on the last couple of off seasons offering huge contracts, huge offers, and nobody wants to take it? And I think it's great that Vlad took it. I mean, 14 for 500. He may have left a few dollars on the table, may have left some on the exchange rate on the table, but good for Vlad. He got his money, and great for Toronto.
I agree with
guy
you,
they can build the team around.
I agree. Most of the teams around the league have only played 12, 13 games. Mets are at 8-4 after today. Yankees at 7-5. Kev, any comments on the Mets?
They won 6 in a row before today. They lost 5-0 today. Pitching overall, 32 runs allowed in 12 games. They've been great, but this reliance on the bullpen, they need to get more length from the starters. I mean, the starters have given them in 12 games about 60 innings. I mean, that's not sustainable. They've been very fortunate that, surprisingly, Brazaban and Kranick and Budo have all pitched really well, coming in for a lot of times 2 innings, 2 1/3, and really making up for the fact that the starters are not giving them length and not having to burn out yet Diaz and Minter and Stanek and Garrett. So
they also need to get Lindor, Nimmo, and Vientos going. Mostly Vientos has been off to a really shaky start.
Well, Lindor after the Houston series, he was 0 for 11. So since then, the last 9 games after that, he is hitting about 350, 360, which for him is incredible.
The overall coming in, he's hitting 240 though. I mean, you just want to get him consistently. And Vientos was hitting under 150.
I'll take 240 over
087
going to late April. Pete's been carrying the offense. He's got 15 RBIs in 12 games. The rest of the team is hitting 221 going into today, and they were 2 hit today by Michael Meyer.
Wow.
Anything on the Yankees, guys?
Yep, Darren.
Yeah, well, Judge can hit home runs.
Yes, he can.
Grisham is off to a great start. He's streaky. When he's on a good streak, you love him. Goldschmidt's been hitting, not anything for power yet, but he's hitting. Volpe and Rice have been okay. They need to get Bellinger, Chisholm, and Wells going because those guys aren't hitting at all. And you know what? To be honest, the Tiger pitching staff in the first 2 days of the series, first 2 games of the series, I should say, really shut them down. And it looked like they were just cold and didn't want to be there.
Yeah. Skubal will do that to you.
I mean, against Skubal, you get it. Against Casey Mize, I know he's a good pitcher, but come on, enough. You can't lose. And Devin Williams has been spotty. Actually, Spotty's been awful, I should say. Tried to blow the game today. They were 4-0 in the ninth. He gives up 3 in the ninth. Yep. They have to go to Leiter to close the game out. So you need to get Devin Williams righted because you thought the bullpen would be a strength, and everybody else has been a strength on this bullpen. But Devin Williams has yet to be that guy, so we're going to need to get him going. Overall, they're going to hit homers. They're just going to have to they're going to have to produce a little bit more than they're doing with guys on base. Volpe's been fine. But stop trying to jack it out of the yard. I need singles and doubles from Volpe. I don't need homers.
Yep, a real good start by Fried today.
Oh, he pitched great today.
Yeah, he did pitch great.
7 innings, 5 hits, 11 Ks. I'll take that every day of the week. They needed him to have an ace performance after losing 3 in a row, and he did. Devin Williams tried to say, no, we don't want it, but the Yankees still found a way to hold on, thank God.
Yep. 2 little quirky things in baseball.
Okay.
Reds last week lost 3 straight 1-0 games. First time in like over 30, 40 years.
Wow.
And then Tampa Bay lost the other night. They had runner in third, nobody out in the 7th. Did not score. Run around third, nobody out in the 8th, did not score. Run around third, nobody out in the 9th, did not score. Lose 4-3. Elias went back. They couldn't find anything since at least 1920 that this happened.
Wow.
So yeah, now you got back to the dead ball era.
So throwing the White Sox today, down a run, Tauchman trying to score, pulls a hamstring as he's about to score the tying run.
Jeez.
Cleveland wins 3-2.
Wow.
Mike Tauchman pulls the hamstring as he's rounding third to score the tying run. He was going to score easily. I don't know about easily, but he was going to score. But he injures the hamstring on his way to scoring the potential tying run, and that was that.
Go ahead, Kev. Nope, go ahead.
I was going to say we have some sad news also in the world of baseball. Dominican Republic, there was a roof collapse in the building down there, and looks like the last I saw earlier today was at least 120 people killed. Among them, Octavio Dotel, who we remember came up with a mess for a couple of years, closed for Houston for a few years, had about 14-year major league career. Really good pitcher for quite a few years there. He was one of the ones killed. Tony Blanco, who got into 56 games in 2005 with the Nationals. Nelsie Cruz, the sister of Nelson Cruz.
Wow.
And Pedro Martinez said today that he's got family members that were still in the rubble, that he's unsure of their status. So just an unbelievable tragedy. Like I said, 120 people at least killed.
Crazy.
Condolences go out to everybody affected with that.
Yep. And one little stupid baseball stolen base fact. I think O'Neal Cruz leading the league with 7. Manny Machado has 5. I don't know. I don't look at Manny Machado and think of stolen bases. Sorry. just a little fat guy joke from the Sports Kings. But anyway, he's 5 for 5. Anyway.
So early on, 12 games in, so difficult to make any kind of analogies.
Manny's going to go 30-30 this year, man.
30. There you go.
Darren, why don't you talk to us about horse racing?
I wasn't that good this weekend, guys, to be perfectly honest with you. In the Bluegrass, which was run on Tuesday, because, that's welcome to Kentucky.
Why not?
Burnham Square actually was the closer. I gave you the wrong closer. I gave you Chance of McPatrick. The other closer, Burnham Square, was the one that took it over East Avenue, who hadn't run well all year and finally ran a really good one in this one. And River Thames, who was the horse I gave you to win, he finished 3rd. But now 4 horses from this race qualify for the Derby now. The Derby's set. There's the 20 horses are in, barring somebody scratching. Burnham Square is in, River Thames is in, East Avenue is in, and Owen Almighty also got in. So all 4 were there. And to Santa Anita, I gave you the winner. I think he'll be the favorite in the Derby. Journalism. The other 2 horses did not really show up in this race. Finished 4th and 5th, so I was a little surprised by that. The Maiden finished 3rd, and Baeso finished 2nd. But Journalism kind of won easy. In the Wood, I told you about the get Pletcher in. I had Grande as a little bit of an upset. Finished 2nd. Just missed.
Wow.
And I had him with Captain Cook, who finished 4th. The winner in this one was Rodriguez, who shipped from the West Coast just to show how bad the New York horses are. He wasn't winning that much out in L.A., so he came back here and won this race wire to wire. He is qualified, and Pletcher does get 2 horses after all the points shake down into the Derby. We'll break it down a little bit closer, a little bit more as we get closer to the Derby. There's one more stakes race this week, but nobody in the Lexington has a chance to get in. Even if they get the full 20 points, they cannot qualify. So it doesn't really matter. That's really where we are with horse racing. Probably my worst weekend I've had in a while.
Yeah, you've been nailing these.
I've been pretty good, but not this weekend.
Stakes coming in. Yep.
The Grande one would have been great if he would have won. Even if I didn't hit the exact, I would have been excited because I was like, they're going to do it for Pletcher, and he almost stole it. He almost took it late. Anyway, back to you, G.
All right. So we got golf starting tomorrow. It's the Masters.
You see Amen corner over my shoulder.
The 89th Masters. Scotty Scheffler is the favorite. If you're betting him to win, he's basically plus 400, so it's about 40 to 1.
4 to 1.
I'm sorry?
4 to 1,
not
4 to 1. Oh, I said
41. I'll take.
Wow.
I'll bet with you.
I'll throw $10 down.
McIlroy McIlroy, the only other person under 10-1. So at the moment, those are the only two. McIlroy's at about 6-1. So McIlroy and Scheffler are basically the two favorites. Then you got a whole host of others. Kev, any comments, any insight into the 89th Masters, which kicks off tomorrow?
We keep saying it. When is Rory going to win another major? Is he ever going to win another major? Is he ever going to win the Masters? I mean, everything's pointing to him doing it this year. He's won 2 tournaments already this year. He's playing as good as he's ever played coming into the Masters. This feels like this is his last best chance to win it. Agree? Disagree?
Well, I mean, it is, but this is the thing that makes the Masters so great is now the live players get to play.
Yep.
So you get to see the best of everybody, right? So and listen, some of the guys aren't going to be competitive on this course. Like a guy like DeChambeau, I don't love him on a course like this because you have to be precise, not long. But there are other guys playing really well. Robert McIntyre has really been playing real well. Morikawa has been playing well. Justin Thomas seems to be finding his stroke back after a brutal last season. Cantlay and Hovland have been pretty good. Patrick Reed seems to be playing real well over so there's a bunch of guys I've been looking at that are playing well. But yes, Rory, the stars are aligned for you, pal. You got to find a way to win it. I mean, listen, you're the face of the sport. Even if Scheffler's number 1, doesn't matter. Yep. Rory's the face of the sport, okay? He's the guy that has to be on the leaderboard to keep everybody excited. He's the new Tiger, okay? I don't know how else to put it. Scheffler's on the board, we're all excited. Rory's on the board, we're really excited. But part of it now is we're excited to see when he's going to choke it away, when he's going to have the bad hole, when he's going to have the blow up, or when he's going to go up against a buzzsaw of a guy that blows right by him. We need Rory to be able to stem the tide and get that title this year.
I mean, if you want a live guy, of course you got to look at Koepka. He's won 5 majors already, and he's got 3 top 10s in the last 6 years at Augusta. So he's
just a great player.
Likes the course, is a great player. He had the 54-hole lead a couple years ago, and I think Netflix has that series on about golf, and Koepka was on it, and he just put too much pressure on himself to win the Masters. That's the one tournament he wants. I mean, a lot of these golfers feel the same way too. I think the Masters is the one they want, and Koepka will be right there, I think, on Sunday as well.
I think he's got a real shot. Gino, what are the odds telling us? Who are the guys that we should be looking at? Who should we be betting?
You guys know how I like to do this. I like to take a couple of guys, let them finish in the top 10. So if I hit a couple, at least I'm hitting a couple. If you're just betting the winner, obviously you're only going to hit one of those guys. John Rahm plus 130, I think is a good bet to finish in the top 10. Xander Schauffele plus 160, finish in the top 10. I like that.
With Schauffele, I'm surprised in some ways they're that low. But I know he's been out a lot with the rib injury and the intercostal injury. But he's been running into form the last couple of weeks. So I think he's going to have a real good shot of being there on Sunday as well.
I actually agree with you on that. For me, I take 2 of those golfers to finish in the top 10 and like to do a parlay on it.
Okay.
So I got 2 that I like. One is Morikawa and Justin Thomas. If I take them both to finish in the top 10 plus 567, so I'm liking that. And then Scotty Scheffler, again, now you're going to get into negative here, but Scotty Scheffler with somebody who's really back, I'm going to take him with Cam Smith, and it's plus 544.
Okay.
So I kind of like that. And then, a couple of, Darren, I know you're always on Fleetwood. He's at plus 240 to get.
That's my guy.
That's right. Plus 240 in the top 10. Tony Finau is plus 400 in the top 10. I know Darren had liked Justin Rose at plus 550. So you got a lot of golf. Listen, if you're gonna have fun betting with this, for me, your bet is the top 10. You could take 2 or 3, maybe you take 4 or 5, and at least you get 2 or 3 that actually hit out of that group. So for me, that's the way to go. You guys have anybody else you really like?
I want to see what McIntyre's odds are.
McIntyre is plus 330 for the top for a top 10.
Plus 330? That's not that bad.
No.
For me, the guy, I'll go with the Irishman, Shane Lowry. This year he's been runner-up at AT&T Pebble Beach. He was 7th at the Arnold Palmer, so he's been doing well against good fields. And he's a major winner. So, he was tied for 3rd a couple of years ago with the Masters. So he's had success at Augusta, and he's plus 3,300.
Yeah.
Same as Fleetwood. Yeah, I may have put down $1 or $2 on both of them to win.
Why not?
At 3,300, yeah, I'll take a chance.
The other duo I like to finish in the top 10 is John Rahm and Xander Schauffele, and that's at plus 450 if you want to try that duo. But again, it's top 10 finishes. That's the way I like to play this.
Yep.
If you're betting someone to win, it's really a crapshoot. And realistically, how many people are you going to bet to win when you know you're only going to get, even if you hit one, you're only hitting one of those tickets. So you could also bet top 5. They have that option basically everywhere. Top 10 is one of the ones they like. You can bet anybody to make the cut, which is the other one.
Weather should not be that much of a factor. Maybe some rain late Friday afternoon. That's it that I see looking at the weather. There was some winds earlier in the week, but it doesn't look like it's going to hit them as bad. It should be good scoring Saturday, Sunday.
Yeah. If you want to see those birdies on Sunday.
The only thing, if you're watching, if anybody's out there watching, you're going to see some changes with the course, which was a result of Hurricane Helene that happened. They've made some course changes. They really haven't come out and said what they are. Trust me, if you're watching any of the broadcasts Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, I'm sure they're going to tell you what they are.
Yep.
But there's some slight changes to the course that we haven't seen before. So that'll at least be something to look out for.
And they're giving ESPN live coverage for 7 hours Saturday and Sunday, which is a lot more than they usually do.
Usually they don't allow it.
usually it's about 4 hours.
Yep.
You get those the last group you pick up around the 3rd or 4th hole usually, and this year they're actually going to show from noon Saturday and Sunday, so you get to see the whole course and see everybody. We'll start off tomorrow morning. These honorary starters: Nicklaus, Player, and Watson.
As good as it gets.
That's as good as it gets. And then, Bernhard Langer, 41st and probably final Masters for him.
Wow.
2 years ago, at 62 years old, he made the cut.
Yeah, you can't count him out. Freddie, you can never count out making the cut either.
Freddie, for a long time, was always that, hey, look at Freddie.
He's in the tournament. You never know. He can still make the cut this year.
Hey, look at that. Freddie shot 71 on the day one is under par.
Well, the thing is, I know they made the course longer, but you still have to be a great shot maker to win here. And a guy like Couples and a couple of the older guys that still can place it where they need to place it can still be competitive on this course. You just got to be smart. You can't take a lot of chances, and you can't make mistakes. That's what it comes down to.
And that's why I know I've looked at guys who have had success here because it's there every year, and the guys who have had success know where to hit it. And there's so many places to get into trouble that you know where to avoid. And you learn those nuances from experience.
Nope, you're right. You're 100% right.
Agreed. All right. Anything else around the sports world you guys want to touch on?
I'm pretty good.
Nothing else.
All right, we're definitely going to get deeper into baseball as the season starts progressing. We got NBA, NHL playoffs coming up starting. Well, actually, next week we'll probably touch on it. We got about 3 weeks, 2.5 weeks to the NFL draft. That's going to sneak up on us very quickly.
We'll recap the Masters next week as well.
Definitely recap the Masters next week.
I guess that's it. We're going to wrap up.
Yes.
We are the Sports Kings from Queens. I'm Darren here with Kevin, here with Gino, talking about the wonderful, wild, and wacky world of sports. A wacky world where for the game-winning shot in a championship game, you do not get the shot off. How do you do that? Download the podcast anywhere you get a podcast, whether it be an Apple product, Spotify, TuneIn, whatever you like. We're posting a lot on social media. Please like it, share it, putting some videos up. Like those, share those. Tell us what you want to see more of. We'll do it. And without any further ado, may your sports Be with you.